Welcome to another episode of the ConunDRUM podcast. This week, my guest is a good friend of mine and fellow Miramichi drummer, Corey MacDonald. Now, Corey's been playing in the New Brunswick music scene for a number of years in bands such as Jake Break and the Dirty Nellies. He's currently with Raglan Road. Now, they're working on their second album right now, which is going to feature heavily on original music. So I'm very excited to hear what the guys come up with. Now, during the chat, we get to talk about what it's like growing up in a musical household, him being a fourth generation musician, the business and production side of being in a party band. We also talk about how he paid tribute to his late father with the MacDonald Memorial Concerts. Now, these concerts were a big deal as they raised a lot of money for the local schools' music programs. Corey is one of the nicest and most generous guys that I've ever met. It was really great catching up with him. Thank you, Corey, for being on the podcast. Now, I hope you all enjoy my conversation with Corey MacDonald.
I have to ask you, are you allowed to have alcoholic beverages during these? Oh, there you go. Look at that.
I said I was going to get a drink. This is the Three Dog Blueberry Gin.
Yeah, I have some here at the house. It's really, really good.
Yeah. Oh,
Super
yeah.
good.
Oh, they're Wayerton. Have you tried that? It's like
Thunder.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, I got some of that too.
that's some good. I just finished a bottle there last week.
Too good. Too good.
Yeah. So how you been?
I mean, just I'm living the dream, man. Living
Surviving.
the dream.
Yeah.
Just that's all we're doing. I mean, you heard what's going on today, so
Yeah.
it's right back to 2 years ago, and here we go.
Pretty much. I'm kind of surprised it took this long for them to pull this plug. Just because, I'm grateful for seeing the people that I saw at Christmas time, but at the same time, we knew this was going to happen after the holidays, right? So
absolutely, it was all around us, and we knew it was going to happen.
Yeah, and
sure.
I mean, at least from what I understand, and I'm not a doctor, that the Omicron is more contagious, but it's not as severe, particularly to those that have been vaccinated.
Exactly. Yeah,
So,
I just got my third booster actually this morning. When I was talking, that's where I was. So.
Okay, yeah, I got mine last night.
Okay, right on. Yeah.
Yeah.
No side effects or nothing, eh?
Sore arm, a little under the weather.
Crazy twitch.
Yeah.
That's all.
All of a sudden, my Facebook ads are everything that I'm talking about. It's
Yeah, exactly.
The surveillance is working. So
I used to be crazy, but I'm all right now.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So other than that, nothing else. Just doing a bit of work and stuff, and then normally I'm traveling for work as well, but that's been low key for the last 2 years. So
Yeah.
And then the gigging, playing music we've been pretty fortunate that throughout the whole 2 years, we got to play shows and stuff, but it was creative thinking and going and trying to do. We did the backyard parties last summer.
Yeah.
With 50 people and under, and that went over very well, which was odd, but awesome at the same time.
Yeah.
When you're walking in and going, do you guys got a stove plug? Because we need 220 power. And they're like, well, here's an extension cord, and I'm like, well, yeah, but we need some juice here.
Yeah. So do you guys have like your own generators that you bring with you to
basically, as long as we can get a stove plug, we're good. We're good for power, because that way we know that we're not going to kick nothing out. Our own equipment that we're using, we're just it's all powered JBL cabinets and stuff. So, and they work awesome. And that's our own gear.
Yeah.
But other than that, just we do that just for safety, to make sure that we're not going to start tripping. Somebody's walking out with 2 extension cords, and you're like,
Not a good scene. Yeah.
No.
And I guess the neighbors get a free show, right?
They do. Yeah, we've done, like I say, we've done about 4 or 5, I think, last summer, and a lot of them would pool together and get everybody to pay so much to cover band, and then they'd have a barbecue, and they made it like an event, but it would be for 50 people. But yeah, you see people out in their back deck, like across the next door, cheers, which is awesome.
Which is great, because then it builds community. Everybody's having a good time. It relieves stress. Everybody's puts a smile on their face, and they kind of think back to when everybody was getting out. So
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
And like I say, it's something too. It's in their own environment, so it just worked out good. That they enjoyed it. They had a good time, danced, and had a party. That's
Yeah,
it.
good.
Yeah.
Well, good on you. And everybody's safe, right? So that's the main thing.
Everybody's safe. Yeah, for sure. And to be honest with you, we actually had to do they had to do all the COVID rules too. So it was, the hand sanitizing, the washrooms, the everybody had to be, X amount apart, like feet apart if they weren't in their little bubble or whatever like that. But it worked out great. It really did.
That's good.
And hats off to Jason Martell for thinking of it, because he's the guy that came up with that. And
He's got all those. He's got so many wheels spinning in his head.
Oh
all the time.
yeah. We can't keep. I call him the. Remember Kmart?
Yeah.
Remember the old Kmart store, the blue light? I call him the blue light special there, because he's just nonstop. He's very, what can we do next? What can we do next? And what's great for us too, because each one of us has something to offer.
Mhm.
However, like he's more the marketing and the look forward type guy, right? So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that what he does for a living? Isn't he? Doesn't he?
Yes,
have a background
he's
in that?
manager of Staples. So that's kind of embedded, I think, right into the training and stuff. Of especially on the commercial side of doing business, right?
Yeah.
So,
And
Yeah.
a lot of people, a lot of us, we do it because we love playing music, but there is that business side of it. And you do have to take care of that, otherwise you get taken advantage of. And a lot of bands I know, like particularly in my scene, where we don't play full shows, most times play for the door, and we kind of take what we can get. Whereas the cover party bands, like you guys pull in a significant amount more than that, but also you're bringing a lot more to the entire evening. Like
it's
production
it's a combination of with Raglan Road, it's a combination of all that. We do have the business side of things. It is a business at the end of the day. However, we do enjoy doing what we do. And that kind of brings me back to when I was younger. Like, I never thought I was ever going to go and play Irish Celtic rock music. It was not in my vocabulary. I grew up with Van Halen and that kind of genre of music. And then all of a sudden I kind of realized as I got older that I'm limiting myself if I want to play in the public, because at the end of the day, people just want to go pound back a few beers and unwind, and they want to hear what they hear on the radio or what they like. So early on, I was kind of like, well, geez, if I really want to do this, like, that's what I got to do. Like, I hate playing Brown Eyed Girl. But guess what? Regardless, there could be 600 people or 1,000 people, and they're all singing Brown Eyed Girl. Well, guess what? I'm having a good time too.
Yeah.
I don't like playing the song, but I like that, they're familiar with it. They're enjoying themselves. And they're having a great time.
Yeah.
And that's what it's all about.
It's the
Absolutely.
transference of energy, like the positive energy back, like what you give, it comes back to you tenfold. And then you give more, and it just builds and builds exponentially.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I love going to watch live entertainment.
Mhm.
Even when I'm not playing, I try to go out, and I love all genres of music. So when I do go out, the first thing I look at, like when bands are playing, is energy. I want to be able to feel it. There's great musicians out there, but if you can't feel the energy, or if stage presence and different things like that, then that's what it's all about. It's kind of a full package deal. And
100%.
yeah, for sure.
So going back, you're originally from the Miramichi area?
Grew up in Chatham. James
Chatham
and Hill graduate. Yeah.
Okay.
And grew up there. Came from a musical background, of course. Started with my great grandfather. My grandfather, he's a New Brunswick Music Hall inductee.
I was going to say your
dad. Yeah. So
I didn't know went as far back as your great grandfather. I knew your grandfather was a New Brunswick Country Music Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
And then your dad, I know you played with him in the Dirty
Yeah,
Nellies.
later on. My dad played music from the time he was about 14, 15, right straight up through. Like, that's all I ever remember him. When I was growing up, I just remember him going, yeah, I'm playing Saturday, because it was every Saturday he was playing.
Okay.
Sometimes it'd be Friday, Saturdays. And then when I was 14, like, he played in a band called Black Diamond, which has a couple of the Davis brothers that are local here. And you might know, of course, Andy Davis, who works at Long and McQuaid. He was
Yeah.
an original member of that at one time too.
Okay.
So when I was a kid learning how to play some drums, of course, Andy would come. He'd show me, traditional.
Nobody does that.
And I'm like, I can't do it. So, but no, Andy was always an influence on me growing up, right? So that's probably when I was a kid, I was like, geez, man, I want to do that.
Okay.
So 14 years old, I got to start doing live sound with those guys. And I remember doing like the old Urban Corral for a week straight. So you go in you do a Monday to Saturday or whatever, Sunday to Saturday, and then another band would come in. So we do stuff like that. I was just always around it. And then my dad and Kevin Jardine, who later on I became a member of Jake Break with. My dad and him had a sound company, and we ended up starting to do sound for a local band called Shortcut, which is Jamie Craig and Lucas Larry and Mike Cunningham. So I traveled around with those guys during my high school years, doing all the setup and teardown. So we used to do all the lighting and all the audio for those guys.
Okay.
So that's how I kind of transitioned later on. I left for a few years and went and took audio engineering out in Stony Creek, Ontario.
Okay. So you have an audio engineering degree or background?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So anyway, what was funny was I when I called the school, right, to find out if there's anybody else coming from New Brunswick, all of a sudden, they're like, well, there's this Pete Bellevaux from Memram Cook. Okay, so I go down, I meet up with Pete, kind of shoot the shit. Do you want to get an apartment? Yeah, sure. So next thing you know, him and I were roommates for a year. You know what I mean? And Pete's over in St. John area, and he does recordings and plays in multiple bands. He's a multi-talented musician, plays everything. Okay. And so I got to hang out with him for a year or so, and then like I say, came back and decided to get kind of a real job for a little bit, and then I met a guy while I was going to school who lived in Manitoba by the name of Blair Baldick, and he's like, I want you to come out. I want to record a CD type of thing or do an album. I was like, man, maybe. Finally, he coaxed me into going. We ended up moving out there, and myself and Joey Santre, who I grew up with, I called Joey and I'm like, listen, we need a guitar player, and do you want to come out? And he's like, well, what's on the go? And I kind of told him, I said, it's going to be original stuff. I said, we're going in the studio here in a couple of months, so come on out, we'll start writing and rehearsing and stuff. So we did that, but we ended up getting tangled up with a fellow by the name of Nazim Lakay, who was a bass player for Wild T and the Spirit, which I don't know if you're familiar with Wild T, but Wild T's a Canadian blues rock band at the time. When I found that out, I saw Bon Jovi back in probably 94, 93-ish.
Okay, that would be
on there when John Bon Jovi cut his hair short.
Yeah, when they came back, Keep the Faith. Yeah,
exactly. So I go to that concert, and guess who's playing bass in the opening band is Nazim Lakay, the guy that I later on get to hang out with, and he produces our album and does all that, right? So I thought, this is awesome. We're gonna hit it big time. Everything's gonna happen for it.
It all lines up,
young
right?
And full of fish and vinegar, right? But we did that for a couple of years. So, I can honestly say that we did it for a few years and got a CD to prove it. And then, of course, came back, and then I got into some family life stuff, started having kids. Left it for maybe a couple of years, and then that's when Kevin Jardine, who used to play with my dad, and Jamie Craig with Shortcut got together, and they were doing Jake Break. Moved into that, did a 3-piece.
So you weren't the original drummer for Jake Break?
I was, because they started out as a duo.
Oh, okay.
They started out as a duo, and I did that for 9 years with those guys, straight, every weekend, 9 years straight. And what was unique about that band, Dre, was that it was very production orientated. So we did all our audio and lighting. So take us 4 hours to set it up, all that, everything over the top. Had a baby grand piano, like it was nuts. So what we did when we talked earlier about doing the marketing, right? We wanted to give a large production show for a quarter of the price
Mhm.
in a small venue. That was our goal. And we achieved that. We did, like I say, we did that 9 years. They
Yeah.
kept on going after I left for maybe a couple of years. Actually, Larry Obi came in and played drums,
Okay.
which was wild because I was like, Larry, man, like, you should be playing guitar, you know. And
Yeah,
poor
he's-
Larry's not with us, and now,
Yeah.
and you know, it's just such a sad story. But holy geez, he was such like that guy there. He could have been something. Like he was.
Yeah, you talk to
amazing.
anybody on the Miramichi and his name comes up and it's all the same stories. Like he's just
Oh yeah,
he was a god among men. Like he just could do anything, play anything, and his influence is still around. Like
huge.
yeah, yeah.
You know, good friend too, and just, you know, miss him a lot. And just he influenced me when I was a kid growing up, looking at that, like that whole Shortcut band was just like, wow.
Yeah.
So yeah, so kind of jumped in with Jake Break for, like I say, 9 years. Then I had an ultimatum because I started kind of dabbling with the Dirty Nellies, which
Yeah, I
was
mean,
a fluke. That was a fluke, you know.
you had
That
the
was something-
opportunity to play in a band with your father, so
Exactly. So I said, I ended up going to my parents' place one night. Chopper and Mark Cormier were there, and I was like, "What are you guys doing here?" Well, we're just practicing, getting some stuff together, and then about a week later, I just went down and sat in with them. What was so cut and dry was that it wasn't the Jake Break thing. I love Jake Break. I loved what it was, but 9 years of that whole
Cool.
mentally preparing that you got to go to, like we did all of the New Brunswick, so we were gone all the time, right?
Yeah.
Every weekend.
every week, and that's a lot. Like to be gone every weekend. A lot of people,
Absolutely.
the romanticized version of being in a touring band is, you're going everywhere, you're playing shows, it's a great lifestyle, but you're not home.
No,
No. You're either you're driving like 5 hours to get back home to sleep in your own bed, or you're staying in a hotel, you know. And I mean, there's benefits to that, but
little paper thin mattress or
right,
something.
it's not a lavish lifestyle. Like you're not making so much money that you can afford, like, the big time hotels and
No, and
you're-
a lot of our passion, Dre, was like we wanted to put the show on. So
yeah.
that takes a lot of financing, right? So it's, you got a truck, you got
Mhm.
all this equipment, and like I say, it was ourselves. We didn't have to go out and hire production. We didn't have to do any of that. Now, hindsight 2020, I mean, it was awesome, but that was kind of my demise of I had enough, because you set up for 4 hours, you go play for 4 hours or three,
more,
or more, depending.
because like they don't want the night to end, so you do an encore and they keep you.
That's right. And then you tear it all down, and then you go to your hotel room at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning.
In the morning, yeah.
Sleep for a couple hours, and then you're
Drive
gone back
home,
home.
or
Or
go to
another
work
day.
Monday.
and go to work Monday. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
So I did that, but like I say, with the Dirty Nellies, that just kind of that crossed my path, and then I did both bands for 2 years. And what we did was so funny, because we'd actually have band meetings with both bands, and they would schedule everything around me, which I thought, like, this is great. I got the best of both worlds. I can go play just fun, set up an acoustic kit. If
Yeah.
somebody wants to slap a microphone on it, I'm cool. Compared to a
Yeah.
fully automated show, because we play with, it was all programmed, all click track, MIDI, lighting
Mhm.
sequence, everything was done. All the guitar volume, all the guitar switches, everything was done. We programmed that.
Yeah.
So it was so over the top. And
That's-
then you go to that.
That's insane, because bands have, like you say, production crews that take care of that and are there to monitor it on the spot in case something goes wrong, or you guys, you must
Absolutely.
have some horror stories of shit going wrong.
You know what? I have I got one. I got one that I'm going to tell you something. Like, I mean, I had a couple where click track, like my in-ears started failing a couple times or something like that, where I got one side clicks kind of fading in and out, and I'm like, oh shit, because I'm in, and I controlled it. Like I had a laptop computer beside me, so I was the guy that was loading. I would load the show. The guys would they were out front, talking to the crowd and getting them going, and I'm loading the next song and getting ready for all the.
You're the
sequence.
pilot, you're in that driver's seat.
Pull that, and you're like, oh shit, I can't hear, like something's wrong, right? But I remember once we went to St. Quentin, and we went to this, it was a hotel motel type spot that we were going to. And as we were going through the Resources Road. So it was like hilly, bumpy, just a shitty drive. And it was piss and rain. And where we kept one of the road racks, which was like guitar modules and stuff. And one of the brains of the operations dripped water the whole way down.
Oh.
And it seeped in through the actual road case and got in. And I remember Jamie Craig worked on that, I'm going to say, for the whole time Kevin and I set up, Jamie was working on that, trying to get it up and going. And of course, Jamie's the tech guy of the band. So he had everything backed up and he's getting that, trying to upload. And then I just remember we were like, you got to eat something. And he's like, I can't do it. So we left, we gave him a chicken wing. And all I remember is he ate the chicken wing. He took one bite out of it. And that thing sat there the whole night on the side of the road case because he just was so stressed out trying to get, but actually the show went on. It was fun. But other than that, I mean, I'll be honest with you, it was a well-oiled machine and it just worked. It just worked. For me, after the 9 years, Durty Nelly's come along. It was vibrant. It was different.
Different energy. Yeah.
It was energy and it was something different. And the people around the Miramichi area and Fredericton and different places started liking what that whole band was about. So off I went, and Larry Obi came in and took over my spot playing drums for 2 or 3 years.
With Jake Break, yeah. So growing up with your dad in the house, like what kind of music was playing in your house? Like
ABBA.
Okay.
So Sunday mornings, of course, Dad would be out late playing.
Yeah. We
always had a massive stereo system, always top of the line. Like he would always buy, I think the last, it was probably 1984, like when 83, 84, like we were one of the first people in Chatham to have a compact disc player.
Mm-hmm.
He was always on top of that stuff. So, but before the discs, I remember when I was a kid, he'd just tell me to go down, I'd be a DJ. So he'd get up, like before he got up, like I'd be down there playing records, and that's all we did, like on that Sunday morning, right? He'd get up after playing a dance that night and come down, getting ready for breakfast and stuff. And I just play like anything from like I say, ABBA, Waylon Jennings. We used to do stuff like the Powder Blues Band. Like it was just a complete mixture of stuff that country, rock.
Yeah. Basically an encyclopedia of everything. Everything. And like I remember, because when my dad was in the 80s and 90s, they were playing top 40 music, right? So whatever was current, they were still playing, like they were playing that stuff. So the music was always a constant. It was never something like, this is what I like, this is what you're gonna get type of thing. So which expanded my palette later on, or growing up with music. So how young were you when you kind of first had that, noticed the drum set as something you wanted to kind of mess around with? We always had a drum set at the house. However, I was too small to get to the bass drum reach the kick or the hi-hat pedal, right? Yeah. So it'd be just kind of bang, bang, bang. But I remember we used to have an old couch, and Andy Davis, I think it was, gave me a set of drumsticks, and I would beat the side of the friggin' couch playing these records, right? I mean, to the point where I just busted right through, right? You could see the wood at the end of it. Because my parents were just like, well, we'll let him beat it for a while because we're going to get a new set anyway. Yeah. But anyway, but they actually let me do that. I don't know why, but anyway, and it had a real good snap. You know what I mean? Oh, like I've done like that. Yeah. Like a rim shot, like, when it's just smack, smack, smack. Yeah. Oh yeah. You hit the top of the couch arm where it's softer, and then your snare drum is the side. Oh yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So you're just, I know what you're talking about, man. Yeah. And that's what I did. And then finally later on, I was probably, in all honesty, probably 12 or 13 when I really sat down and went, this is what I want to do. Okay. I want to play drums. And, okay. And so I dabbled in other stuff, but I had guitars and I had all kinds of stuff, but just, I don't know what the hell gravitated me to it.
to the
Yeah.
drums. But it was
Because
just
your grandfather was a string musician. He could play anything with strings.
he
Basically.
played banjo, fiddle,
Yeah.
guitar, stuff like that, right? And so I came from that fiddle music, and later on too, like I got to play all that stuff with him and my dad, even my great uncle. He plays, so it was fun, like just kind of growing up with a mixture of tunes and
Mhm.
influences, I guess.
Yeah. So were you taking
But
lessons
rough.
at all at any point?
No, not really. Not really. I was in music class.
Yeah.
I used to be able to read drum music at one time. I was
Okay.
in from grade 7 right to grade 12 with Norman Lero.
Yeah.
And Norman and I actually were pretty close, like student teacher type relationship.
Yeah.
But I got to play with Norman a couple of times. We played a battle of the bands type situation when I was young. And for me, growing up, there was a lot of older kids or older people that were playing in bands, and they would never had a drummer, so they would ask me to come. I'm not the best. I'm not too technical, but I'm solid. I can get into a genre. And
Good
music.
meter.
Just timing is.
Timing's
if there's
everything.
anything, it's timing for sure. Yeah, and that goes a long way, especially if you need something that's very repeatable. And you go to see bands, and it's just like, oh man, that band's hot, but what's going on? What's going on?
Well, they say the band's only as good as their drummer, and the reason
and
for
that's
that
true.
is
You being a
is
drummer,
the fluctuation in tempo. Like, I mean, it's one thing because we're all humans, we're not machines, and we can get pretty close to being exact, but there is some feel involved. You play in front of or behind the beat, and but it's
and
to
I
a
love
certain extent.
doing that too, Dre.
Yeah.
I like that too. I like
Yeah,
I like that feel.
to an extent of
Exactly.
it still has to be somewhat in that on that meter, right?
Yes.
So
absolutely.
and when the band is not consistent, the audience will know that, and then it kind of takes them out of it, because then it's one thing to mess up and you move on, because most of the time the band notices that one of the members flubbed a chord or didn't hit the rim shot or whatever. Nobody in the audience gives a shit.
No.
As musicians, we're like harder on ourselves than anything.
Yeah.
But with that said, like I was saying, like if you're so off the mark and they notice, then there's a problem. And the drums is the meter. It's the lifeblood of the band. So having a good meter like you have must have helped when you were doing the Jake break stuff, because like you say, everything was to a click. So you kind of have to have that natural ability to pick it up, because it's not easy to play with a click.
I'm like a machine now, man. If I hear
Yeah.
a click track, it's almost like I'm a machine that locks in. And
It's a practice muscle.
Well, and I really love it. Now, Dirty Nelly's not a click track known to man, because
No.
we were the type of band that was just it was a loose machine. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, Chopper and like I say, if you took one member out of either Mark or Chopper, it didn't make sense for that band to even work, because the unique vocal styles and what that was what made that band. But
Yeah.
at the same time, there was a rhythm section that I had going on with my father, which the bass and the drums were working good, but starting a song every now and then was just like, where are we going here? And then once you get it, you just try to lock it in yourself and hold on for dear life, kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if one of the other guys starts the song and they're kind of fluctuating, then it's your job to come in and be like, this, you got to set the
This
time.
is what I'm doing.
This is where you'll be.
Yeah, and a lot of the music that we were doing was because, like, it was to get the feel of the singer, because the way the singer would start it, Raglan Road a little bit, but not a whole lot. But to get that, it was always Chopper. Like, it was just, hey, this is how I want this to go, type of thing. And once he, I mean, it would take not even a strum and a half on the guitar, and then we were like, boom, okay, we're here.
Yeah.
And then you lock that, you try to lock that in as good as you can.
Yeah.
And but yeah, timing, I think that's probably what I would bring to the table for a group.
Yeah.
Is that.
And like I say, playing with a click track for so long, you develop that timing. So then you can take that
Yes.
away and you're right there, right? Because it's a
Yeah.
practice thing, right? So
I do miss it. Like, I've been playing around lately with tap metronomes and stuff, just to, if we're doing a song, like, it's tap it in and then lock it in, because I do like that. I do like that structure. I like that grid.
Mhm.
Because then you're free, like, you're free to do stuff around that.
Yeah.
Once a drummer gets that, it's not easy. I remember
No.
when I first started with that. I mean, when I first started was the first CD that we recorded out west, and they chucked a metronome on me, and I was like
Deer
throwing
in
drumsticks
headlights.
at the console. Like, what the hell is this? I can't do
Yeah.
this. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
Bring in the drum machine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is the worst thing anybody could ever do.
Yeah.
Is what it is. But anyway,
Well,
I
like you
got
say.
it.
Yeah. And like you say, it's not everybody. I mean, it takes time. Not everybody has, some people have an easier time than others to get it. And like a lot of drummers, and myself included for a long time, felt that it was restrictive. But like you say, it's actually the opposite, because it gives you that blanket, that safety net, that you can just land on it and just come right back in if you do find yourself lost. Because if you're lost without a net, then the whole thing falls apart.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember rehearsing for Jake Break. That just didn't happen overnight. I spent 2.5 months, 3 months actually, before I even played live once. And I had some disaster metronome issues,
Mhm.
the first couple of shows. And then after that, you're like, when you're talking 4 hours of music that's completely locked to a grid, lighting sequence, everything's done like that. It's like, wow, like, you got to be in a different mind frame to make sure that you're not going to mess this up, because when it's a disaster, it's a disaster.
Oh, yeah.
It's off, and everybody will know. It's not like somebody misses a chord,
No, and then you got to win them back.
Then you got to win them back.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So being like with going from Jake Break to the Nellies, and it being such a different band, and playing with your dad, like you say, that rhythm section where you kind of lock in, like there's a certain DNA, as you go, I'm sure your son Sabian's probably got some rhythm, some drums going on in him.
He can, yeah. Like I look at him, and he doesn't, like, he can play guitar a bit. He can come in, bang on the drums and do stuff. And I'm like, how come you're not doing that? And he's like, oh, but I didn't push him. I called him that. I called him Sabian for a reason. I'm like, come on.
And it's him just being like, no, Dad, screw you, I'm not doing it.
Exactly. Yeah, I get a few of those from him too.
Yeah.
But,
Well, I mean, I'm in the same boat. I have a 17 now. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Wow. And I didn't want to push him into it, but whenever he did express an interest, I got him a little kid's drum set, and I got him a little guitar, and he kind of fiddled around with it, but wasn't his passion. He takes more after his mom with the visual arts. Like he's doing a lot of different dioramas and model kits and stuff like that. Like that's kind of what he wants to pursue. So, you just kind of harness what it is that they're interested in, because,
absolutely,
you don't want to drive that bus and lead them down the wrong road and then have them resent you later on in life.
It was never like, my whole family never said, you got to play music. You got to play music. It was just there. And I gravitated to it. Like, it was just, I remember running home after school. Like, my house was the jam house.
Yeah.
And we had guys that we would play with, and just everybody would come there. And my father always had all kinds of equipment. So to be like, there's the truck, the equipment's in the truck. If you want to wade up to your balls in snow and go get it, it's got to be back in there by Thursday night. You know what I mean? Like,
right. Cause they're using it for the,
And I would go, if there was something at the front of the truck, we'd take her all out and get it, and
put it all back.
That's just,
yeah.
That was the drive. That's because we wanted to do it.
Yeah. Right.
And I mean, I had help.
I had similar growing up. Like my dad had, he was in a lot of different iterations of bands, members coming and going, doing the country music cover band kind of thing. So they wouldn't get into the top 40 stuff. They'd, play the old traditional country and the newer country at the time, which would have been in the 90s, early to mid 90s. And so he'd have equipment downstairs in the basement. And I think it was Obas Schofield was his drummer.
Oh, yeah.
Cut hair barber.
Yeah. He used to be my barber. We used to talk.
Yeah.
I remember when I was a kid, like, he'd be like, you're going to be a drummer, eh?
Yeah.
Like, used to put the board down. You remember the board?
Yeah.
on the chair because you were
Yeah.
too small to friggin' sit down because
Yeah,
you
yeah.
weren't high enough.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
throw that
So he had his drum set in my basement growing up, and he's a tall guy, so his drum
Yeah,
stool
yeah.
was like way high, and I could barely touch the kick pedal. But he was like, if you want to adjust it, he's like, that's fine. Just make sure you put it back, when I come over to practice. And I remember sitting down at the drum kit, and he had Sabian cymbals and all that, and I look at his drumsticks, and they had all these little divots in them, all these grooves that were cut into them. And I'm like, I haven't seen those drumsticks like since until Headhunters. And
Yeah.
maybe they were Headhunters. I don't know if they were at the time. I don't know how long they've been around. So, but they're the ones with the grooves in them. And I thought
Yeah.
they were the weirdest looking drumsticks. I was like, what
I
the
know,
fuck is that?
I gave
But
you a little bit of grip there, and like
yeah,
that's what
yeah, yeah. So I mean, I got used to it. It kind of helped me with finding the fulcrum and playing, at
Yeah.
that, because at that age, I would have been about, oh man, what, 10 or 11.
Okay.
So I didn't really start playing until I was like 13, but at that age, I kind of started, messing around a little bit. It
Yeah.
wasn't until my brother, who was also living in the house, saw the drums. And, Lucas he's
Yes,
married to my
exactly.
cousin, right? So there's a lot of drummers in our family, apparently.
And that's a whole, and your cousin, that's a whole other musical side of it.
Right. That whole side. So, but it wasn't until my brother he started playing in my dad's band. He had a Black Pearl kit.
Okay.
And one night when they were coming back, I don't know where they were coming back from. Could have been like Nigawak or somewhere downriver. And the trailer busted open in the winter. And what was the last thing packed? Was his drum kit. So they fell out and the shells shattered, and it was a whole thing. And then so he ended up going to Millbank Music and bought his first set of Yamahas.
Oh yes, okay, right on.
So then when those came into the house, those were the ones that I ended up inheriting later on, the white Power V kit.
Yes.
So that's what I learned to play, and that's when I kind of got the bug to play. And he was like, "You want to learn how to play the drums?" I was like, "Yeah, fuck yeah, absolutely." He gives me a VHS, Dave Weckl, Back to Basics.
Yeah, back to basics already.
He's like, "You watch that a few times, and then we'll talk." That was my introduction.
It's so funny you say that. It's so funny you say that. Like I remember Carmine Apiece or PCA, whatever, because there's two ways to pronounce his name.
Bonham,
And I just remember like watching these videos in the 80s, right? And I learned so many stick tricks from that guy. Like those were like they were so cool. They were so innovative back in the day doing that. Right now, I mean, you got YouTube and you can see all that, but that's an awesome story about like that's how you got into playing.
And then of course he did start showing me, how to do the single and double and paradiddles and all that stuff. And then he was trying. He wanted to give me. He was moving away to BC, and he didn't want to sell me the drums. He wanted me to read 30 books within, I think, before he left or something like that. And I was like 13, 14. I didn't want to read. There were books like Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, like all those self-help kind of betterment books, because he was really big into that at the time. So he's like, if you read these books, I'll give you the drum set. I said, nope, not doing it. So he ended up selling the drums to my cousin Roland.
Oh yeah, I know.
Who's on Prince Edward Island. So Roland had them like over a decade, because I stopped playing for good over 10 years when I moved to St. John and met my wife in college and all that. So then when I came back, my brother, who was out in BC, moved back home. And as he was moving back home, Roland was like, "Hey, I still got that drum kit. You want it?" And he's like, "Well, I only want the cymbals." He's like, "Well, it's a full deal." So he's like, "All right." So he bought the kit back, kept the cymbals, and gave me the drum kit.
There you go.
So I ended up getting the drum kit anyway.
That's not a bad deal, though. Come full circle for you.
Right? And that was the weirdest thing. And me in my 30s getting the drum kit that I learned how to play the drums on in my early teens, to have them, to which I then ended up selling them to James McClafferty after I got my new set. Yeah. So.
It's wild, like, I mean, like, and I find drum kits, once you have them, like they hold some kind of memory,
it's like your first car.
Oh, absolutely. I still know, I still know where some of, well, I got 4 kits, so some of them I just don't get rid of, right? I just
Yeah.
keep them.
Yeah.
But you know, like I know where I had a set of Tama white, like, you know, just like Lars Ulrich, you know, like just,
Team of rock
that's,
stars or whatever they call
yeah,
it.
they were rock stars, you know,
Yeah.
and no,
Similar-
sorry, no, they were swing. I think they were swing stars.
Swing star, similar
Yeah,
to
yeah.
Lucas's kit then.
Yeah, very similar to Lucas. Anyway, I still know where those are, and I still got my eyes on them. So I'm just waiting for the day where I'm like, we would take this for them, because I wouldn't mind. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, I remember that when that was my teen kit. You know, right up until I was probably about 19, right? So
yeah.
I
Then you got to explain to the wife, you know, I got another drum kit, honey. You know.
She's pretty good. She's used to me coming in. Yeah, I got, what do you got there? I got this, I got that, you know.
Yeah.
But it's all right.
Yeah. So after, not to take a somber turn, but after your dad passed,
Yes.
and you, speaking of your wife, you and your wife set up the Walter MacDonald Memorial Concerts here in Miramichi for a number of years.
Yeah, I think we did 8.
Yeah.
years, I think.
What kind of prompted that whole idea and raising money for the schools?
Well, we actually, Chopper was involved with the first year. We kind of had an Irish wake for him
Okay.
afterwards, and we went to the wing, and him and Bob McCullum used to play there a lot and stuff. So anyway, long and short, we went there and we were just talking. We were like, you know, like, he was young when he passed away. He was in his mid-50s. We should do something. And then we were just kind of brainstorming, like, well, what do you think we should do? Well, we know enough music people in the community, like, and my grandfather and him and Bob McCullum and all those guys always did hootenannies. Always, like, they'd play in the weekends, but on a Sunday or a Saturday afternoon, they would be somewhere playing.
Oh yeah, I grew up with a hootenanny, man.
Exactly. No, right. And your family as well.
Yeah.
So you're like, that's just what you did. It's just what you did.
For people that don't know what a hootenanny is, it's basically it's a fundraising event that takes place. It usually starts somewhere around like 11 o'clock in the morning, and it runs until 2 or 3 or 4 in the morning. It's at one spot. There's a stage with all the gears on the stage, and everybody goes up and plays songs, and it's kind of like it's like a karaoke almost. You know, people just go up and play, and there's food all day, and there's an open bar, and basically you come in and everybody just donates and gives money, and it goes usually to a family in need or some other type of charity. Just that's what a hootenanny is. So go back.
But what, you know, like, of course, the negative side of that is because somebody needs that, right?
Yes.
But what a way not to celebrate. I guess that's not the right term.
Come together
as a community. Just go, no, these people, we love you. We're here for you. We're, you know, whatever. And I mean, it's very powerful. I think I've been to a few. I've played for a few myself where I saw the dollar amounts that were raised, and you're like, you know, 24, 26 grand. I'm like, wow. Like,
and they're in communities that
people or you know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
And you just get overwhelmed with that. It's like, wow, it's amazing. And we live in an awesome spot here for that.
Yeah. And
like,
I mean,
really
there was a time where there was a hootenanny every weekend, and people just kept going. They just kept giving, right?
Unbelievable.
So the impetus of the Walter MacDonald was the hootenanny idea.
Yeah, it was a hootenanny idea. So we were like, okay, well, what could we do? Well, okay. And then, of course, my wife being a school teacher was like, you know, like, hey, listen, there's a lot of funding cut here and this, that, and the other. And then we started looking at it. And we were like, yeah, I think that's going to be, you know, I think that will be a good option for us to do. And then we got a hold of the school board and just kind of hooked it up. And I mean, we had a good run. Of course, coming on the end of it, it was hard too, because it just started getting a little bit bigger, and it could have went bigger.
Yeah.
And but we needed more volunteers. We needed like a bunch of stuff. And it was just, we had, you know, we had some key people leave that were helping out.
Mhm.
And once they left too, it was like, geez, you realize how much they actually put into this.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow, we just can't sustain it. And then COVID hit.
Yeah. I
So,
mean, to do that now,
we missed the 1 year, and then, I mean, we could
yeah,
do it online maybe, but I don't.
yeah, that'd be a little different. Because I
It would be-
mean, those events and the way it was laid out, because it was at the Golf and Country Club, there was 3 rooms going at the end of it, and you had 3 bands playing at the same time, like full bands,
Oh yeah,
and you could go from one room to the other, and I don't know what they had in the walls, but you wouldn't be able, like, there was no bleed from one to the other. It
nothing.
was just an amazing atmosphere, like people going up and down the stairs, and like all the different, the bars, like, it really was the once a year event in the area. Like, it
Yeah, especially given the time of year too. Like it's coming on.
was in
It's
November.
November.
Yeah.
And we picked November because like my dad passed away on November 7th. And we just kind of picked that year because there's really not much. A lot of the bands are just getting geared up to do their holiday run,
Mhm.
Christmas parties, stuff like that. So we were like, why don't we try this? This would be cool. So yeah. And I mean, you guys were a part of that right from day one. It was
Yeah.
like, I loved it. Like it was great. Like I know for me, because I'd look after the bands, the scheduling and all that. And
Yeah.
of course, like, the first year it's like everybody's in. Second year, it's like, I want a later time. I want a later time.
The ego
Right?
starts to kick in. Yeah,
You're just trying to juggle everybody, and
yeah.
and
I'm never gonna get the headline anywhere else. I want to headline that.
it was a lot of fun. We raised a lot of money too. Like we did. We averaged probably about 7 or 8 grand each time. I mean, like I say, we did 8 years of it, I think. So
And you had some sponsors too. I know you had Sabian
yeah,
sponsor and
well,
give
see,
some gifts.
one thing about Sabian, like I do work on my personal work. I do work with Sabian. I've been doing work with Sabian for the last 20 years. So
Really? Okay.
I'm in that company all the
Didn't
time.
know that either.
I do a lot of stuff with Mark Love over there and the guys.
Yeah.
Like I say, we some of the stuff there's I can't say, but but it's just we manufacture quite a bit of stuff to help them build their products, and
Yeah.
they treat me like family when I go in there, and they're just I tell you, man, just an amazing company, and a lot of people don't realize that it's here in our backyard.
Mhm.
It's amazing. I
Yeah.
mean, Los Cobos too. I know you got a tie with them. I've been
Yep.
through their plant.
Yep.
Great people. I think they're awesome.
Yeah.
I got
been
endorsement with headhunters. That's
Yeah,
the only thing.
No,
But
that's
anyway,
it.
it is what it is. It's
Yeah,
all
yeah.
good. It's all
Yeah.
good.
Yep. Exactly. And I mean, not to shit on any one product or another, because every product that's on the market has something that they contribute and that they do well. And
Absolutely.
it's all personal choice. Like, what's the best drum kit? Your answer is going to be different than mine, right?
Well, absolutely. But you know what? I probably played on every drum kit, and I
Yeah.
can probably say something good about every drum kit.
Yeah.
I used to
right.
be a Pearl guy. I used to be a Yamaha guy. I was a Tama guy. I'm a DW guy. Like it just depends, and it's like, I love them all. Like, I don't think there's been a kit that I sat down on and went, oh, this is garbage. Like, it's garbage. Like, they're all making good products.
Well,
Like,
I've
really-
played on some house kits that were garbage, but it has nothing to do with the brand. It's more to do with the upkeep.
It's more used, very well used.
It's very well used.
I agree with you there.
I love that when you show up for a gig, the house. Oh yeah, the house kit's great. And you show up and the floor tom is all pitted and dented, and you're like, this
Looks
this
like
is
somebody
a-
took the end of the drumstick and just
Yeah.
bumped it like that.
Oh yeah, totally. You're like, wow,
Absolutely.
okay. So I guess this is what I'm playing.
This is it. This is all.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. We've been on a few of those.
Yeah. So taking the natural progression of where this is. So now you were with Raglan Road, and you've been with them for a number of years, which they had started out as a duo, similar to Jake Break. So how did you get the call to join them?
Well, it was actually, I was hanging out at O'Donoghue's quite a bit at that time. The Dirty Nellies that was kind of our home stage, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And Jason Martell was playing with another gentleman at the time, which was the band was called Matt and Marty.
Mm-hmm. I remember that.
So I'd run into them every now and then, and this, that, the other. And all of a sudden, one time, I noticed Jason was very influenced by the Dirty Nellies and what we were up to down here. And he kind of saw, I think, that market a little bit of, because they were doing similar stuff, and he was like, "Oh, this is cool." And then all of a sudden, one day, I had to reach out to Jason because we had a show in Ormuckto to do with the Dirty Nellies, and I'm pretty sure it was Mark Cormier couldn't make it, and we're in a pinch.
Yeah. So
we were like, "Wow, what are we gonna do?" And I called Jason, said, "Hey, man, do you mind coming down?" He's like, "Not a bit." Come down, did some rehearsing off to Ormuckto, filled in for the show because we were looking for that same kind of style, that same upbeat thing. And anyway, pulled it off. I think he also filled in for Chopper one night.
Okay.
Or Chopper was, I think at that time, maybe starting to work out west.
Yeah.
And then from there, it just kind of morphed into, "Hey, Corey, would you be interested?" "Yeah, I know a guy." So Jamie, in all honesty, when I look back, like Jamie Craig.
Yeah, you guys go way back.
Well, we've been playing 20 some years, man. It's bananas. It's bananas. Yeah. I said that to him a couple of weeks ago. 20 some years, man. And when my dad took sick, we brought Jody Robichaud in.
Yeah.
Because Jody and I are actually related. So
okay.
Jody's bass style is very similar to how my dad plays.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, you're going to be the perfect fit. He's like, "Really?" Yeah, come on down.
Yeah.
And I remember
he can sing. Like, man, can he ever sing?
So we had the 3-part harmony going, right?
Yeah.
And Jody's that real high guy. And it just worked out. But then there was a show, how Jamie Craig got into the Dirty Nellies was there was a show, and Jody he wanted to go back to school. So he called me up and he goes, "Yeah, man, going to school, taking refrigeration," or whatever he was taking. I was like, "That's awesome." And he goes, "But it's in Sydney, Nova Scotia." I'm like, "You're 8 hours away." Like, anyway, so we had a contract book with Fred X, which the exhibition over in Fredericton for, we were playing with, what's his name? It's a comedian from Newfoundland.
Oh,
it'll come to me eventually.
Middle of the night when you're sleeping, you'll wake up.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my God, real popular too.
Not Jimmy Flynn.
Jimmy Flynn. That's exactly what. Okay. So we had a contract. We were opening up for Jimmy Flynn. Jimmy Flynn was to come out and do a show, and then we were to go on afterwards. So of course I had to call Jamie and go, "Hey, listen, I need a bass player. We got a contract. I need a body to come in and fill this position." Jamie has always been the 5th member of the Dirty Nellies. He recorded us. He played on our album. He's Mark Cormier's brother-in-law. Like, he's been there throughout the whole thing. So of course he left me hanging for a day, let me sweat for a while, and then he come in and he's like, "What do I bring?" And I was like, "Bring your bass." He's like, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Bring your bass. Don't worry about it." So anyway, we walk in, and it was so funny because it was in an arena. The stage was in the round. It was in the middle, and everything was flown dead center. And when we walked in, they were doing a horse show around the stage. And then all of a sudden it was time for us to go on, and everything that was flown up in the ceiling all comes down, like all the line arrays and everything, and they had the stage set up and we were gone. And I remember afterwards we got to go in a limousine ride around town, and we went to Dolan's with Jimmy Flynn and his wife, and all the stories, the comedy after hours was just
better than what was on the stage.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so after that, Jamie was hooked. He's like, "Boys, because you got to take like that whole, remember what I said about Jake Break, all the setup and all that stuff, and then all he had to do was walk on and play and do all that." He was in. He set up his whole. So Jamie came in. And then the Dirty Nellies kind of dispersed after that for a little bit because Chopper was out west. Mark's now an RCMP officer out west.
Yeah.
So next thing you know, it's like, hey, Jamie, you want to join Raglan Road? And he's like, sure. And so we started traveling to Bathurst and practicing and doing that.
Yeah.
And that's been since on and off because they do the duo thing, but not so much now. It's more of a group effort. Jason will do some solo shows, but
yeah, because you put out an album in 2017, which
17,
mostly covers, but there was a couple of originals on there.
Yeah, I think we did 1 or 2 originals on it.
Yeah.
This one here is going to be probably 85 to 90% original.
Oh yeah.
Stuff. Yeah. Because
awesome.
we wanted to do more originals. I mean, all of us write music, so it's like we're trying to morph everything into it, and it's been pretty wild. Like some of the stuff, like Jason will come in with a whole song, and next thing you know, it's like I'll come in with some guitar stuff, and we'll just morph it into that. And you're like, hey, that sounds kind of cool. So
yeah. So
we have that luxury too. So
yeah, so you're kind of finding your sound as not just as a cover band, because I mean you get your influences and you kind of tie that into to your style, and then you becomes your voice kind of thing. So a lot of that influence is coming through. So your originals, what are they? Are they more Celtic? Are they more rock and roll? Like
they're kind of a mixture, right straight across the board. Like Gary Goss comes up with some really wild stuff. So, I mean, we got one song that's going to come out. It's called Newfoundland Time, where Gary brought it to us. And of course, Gary being from Newfoundland. When I heard that song, when it first came there, and then Jamie and I sat with him and we kind of just rearranged. And then Jason came in, and then Jason and I are actually doing some background vocals on the way out. And I was like, completely changed the whole dynamic of the song, and it's just like now it's ours. You know what I mean? Like Gary wrote the song, but now it's ours, and it's really cool. I love doing stuff like that, where it's like you take other people's ideas and you kind of make it your own.
Yeah.
And just the arranging of it too.
Yeah, that's my favorite thing. Like with us, like Jack will write the songs, and they'll come pretty much fully formed. Like you'll have like, this is the verse riff, this is the chorus, but he's not tied specifically to the order or the arrangement. He comes with an idea, and then Sean and I will add our thing, and then we'll start picking it apart with like, okay, what if we extend this part a little longer? Or what if we stop here and we kind of add this, or go back to that chord instead? So we'll contribute so that it becomes a collaboration. So is that kind of what you're talking about? Like
that's pretty much it. Like, yeah, we'll go, okay, instead of this, let's do these chords, or make a bridge here, or whatever, or hey, I think this background vocal will work here. Or, we do have the luxury too, where Jamie has a studio with Kevin Jardine, and Kevin does all our mixing. Like our last album, he did all the mixing and everything and mastering of that. So he's still a part of me, I guess, still throughout these whole years, and which is, I mean, they're really good friends of mine. So
because with your audio engineering background, you could be doing a lot of that yourself.
Yeah, but I tell you, when I took audio engineering, here's what happened with me was I had digital, analog. So when I went to school, we had a digital studio downstairs, which was the ADATs, so almost like a VHS tape. So we had a 24 channel or 24 track studio downstairs, 24 track analog tape upstairs. So upstairs, you were actually splicing, doing all that. I'm more analog on hands-on buttons, turning and all that stuff. Nowadays, it's all computers,
it's all interface. It does the same, but it's all interface, and it does the same, but it doesn't sound the same.
But I like actually turning it on.
Yeah.
Plugging my ins, okay, I gotta do my patch bay, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Stuff like that. But in Jamie and Kevin's studio right now, I mean, it's all digital. So we're using a lot of plugins, we're using a lot of different things, but it enables, like it lets us do the sound that we want to kind of get to. Even the drums. I mean, like, we're using electronic, we're using real, we're using like a mixture of all kinds of stuff. Yeah. So editing wise, it's a lot easier later on. To do that. It's fast, it's quick, it's sound wise.
Yeah.
That's
so how, I mean, now that COVID's kind of, I mean, it's
Yeah.
not gone away. It's kind of coming back now. They're talking about lockdowns and all that stuff again. So
Yeah.
that's going to put a hamper on your scheduling because
Yeah.
when's the idea of having it come out?
Well, that's the luxury that we do have, right? We have no pressure to get it out.
Yeah.
I know Jason Martell wants it out now.
He wants it out. He wants it out last month.
Last year, absolutely. Which I think is awesome too. But at
Mhm.
the end of the day, I'm very picky. Jamie's very picky on what we want it to sound like sonically. And when I say sonically, from point A to point B, we don't want one thing to go, oh, that's a heavy rock song and that's country. You know what I mean? Because I
It
mean,
has to flow together.
it's got to flow. Plus, where we're writing our own material, you know, we want it to sound as professional as we can. We want it to sound as radio friendly. We want it to sound all that stuff because that's who we are and that's what we want. Like I come from a Mutt Lang. That's my bar. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that's
That level of
my guy.
production. Yeah.
Absolutely, it's all about production. So
Yeah.
but with the scheduling, yeah, I mean the boys are in tonight now doing some guitar stuff.
Do you have all your drums done?
Yes and no. Got some scratch stuff done, but I'm almost to the point now where I like to, especially when we're writing, is just bang something out solid.
Yeah.
Then I can move it and float it, and I can change. I can we can rearrange the whole song.
Yeah.
Then I can go back in, and then do the whole dynamic take that I want to do, or in sections or whatever we got to do.
Yeah. Punch in or whatever.
Yeah, I'm not. Listen, everybody's using tricks in the studio today.
Yeah.
I do like that feel. I do like that feel of walking in and just playing.
Yeah.
I do. The last album, all my stuff, I was done way before the other guys. Like I walked in because a lot of the stuff we play live.
Yeah.
So we walked in. I said, okay, chuck a click track on us all so we can all hear it and just bang, bang, bang. There's a few things I had to fix up. Other than that, I was done. And then I helped Jamie with more or less structure. Like, I think you should add this in or that in. Or whatever. So,
yeah.
But I love that. I'm very hands-on with that.
I'm not a punch in guy. Like when we did the last album, it was from the time the song starts to the time the song ends, that's one take.
Yeah.
Like every track was one take. I did a couple of songs where I did a second take, and I think the second takes might have been used, but there wasn't much difference between them. It might have been like a tempo thing or whatever, but yes, like I'm the same way. We didn't use a click track though.
Okay. Well, no, but listen, it's all preference. I'm like my first album that I did was I've recorded 4 or 5 CDs now. So like I did my dad's CD with Bob and Walter like back a few years ago, which was a hoot. That was just fun in the studio. But like my first CD that I did with the band was called Centre after Joey Centre. It was all live off the floor. They kept my tracks and then they built on top of that afterwards if they wanted to.
That's kind of what I want to do with the next one.
Yeah.
But you need a good setup. Like you need to have a good area, like isolation and stuff.
Yeah. And the other thing is too, is know your material before you go in and record it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know, it's not, you can't go in and start arranging and trying to record. We did that on our first album and it cost us like quite a bit of money. I learned from that.
Yeah. Time is money. So
I wasn't up to snuff with a metronome. We were rearranging and still writing stuff and trying to change stuff on the fly. So every hour is like, 75, 100, 150, whatever it is, and that added up. Plus they had a really good coffee thing going on there. So and a pool table in one area. Like we were in Brandon, Manitoba at the time. And I just remember like sipping on this, like, all these, the pump stuff you can put in your coffees, like all the flavor shit.
Yep.
All hyped up because we used to
swamp water.
And I smoked back then, so it was just coffee and cigarettes.
Living that studio lifestyle. Right?
You're like that, 100 miles an hour. Just
Then you
Anyway,
need the click track.
I learned my lesson.
Hullabaloo just put out their call for festival.
Okay.
So that's something that you guys might want to look into, because
Yeah,
out of
yeah.
all the festivals that I played with Terry Whalen back when I was playing with him,
Yeah.
I'd have to say, like, we did Harvest. We had a residency at the Lunar during the Harvest.
Lunar Road, yeah.
We did Smoke and Blues. We did all of them. Like, but Hullabaloo, man, that was the one every year. That was the one.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we've been fortunate with Raglan Road. And Durty and Nelly's, we played a lot of different festivals too, and had a good time. You know, some bigger bands, you know, that we got to open up for. But
Yeah, we didn't even talk about
I love that. I love that atmosphere. I love that. I love
festivals are the best, man.
You get to hang out. For me to go on stage and play for 90 minutes, full, just everything I got for 90 minutes. I love it. I love it.
You don't have to. It's like you don't have to fight those championship rounds. You just go full tilt. Just let it all out.
Exactly. It's not like in the corner, gives me the water. You know, like you want to throw the towel in, but then you get back out. You're back out there again, and stuff like that. But with 90 minutes, it's like you can give it all you got. Feels good.
What was it like? Because you guys got to open for Haywire.
Yeah.
What was that like?
Haywire was awesome, man. They're a great bunch of guys. Great bunch of guys. We got to hang out with them before and after. Like, they were just down to earth, East Coast boys.
Mm-hmm.
It was awesome. Yeah, I mean, we got to do that a few years ago. We were supposed to do Honeymoon Suite, but with the COVID and all that didn't pan out.
Yeah.
There's some other stuff in the works now for this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did trying to think. Mahones. We opened up for the Mahones before with Durty and the Trues. We did Blue Rodeo. Matt Minglewood a few times, of course. And Matt, like that whole band, they're another bunch of East Coasters, right? So everybody's so nice that comes from the East Coast, you know, like they just so down there. I'm not saying the other bands aren't, like they are, but it's just, there's something about an East Coast atmosphere that just really, I don't know. They get it.
Yeah.
They just get it.
Yeah. And like, if you're traveling and you go out west and you bump into somebody from the East Coast that you don't even know them personally, like you've never met them, but you just you can tell.
Oh, absolutely.
Not just the way they speak, just their demeanor and then just their attitude. Like you can be like, you're from the East Coast, aren't you? And they're like, yeah, how'd you go?
Usually pretty easy going.
Yeah.
You know, type of people. But yeah, no, Haywire, man, like I tell you, they were the nicest bunch of guys. And excited to play too, right? Because they don't do that many shows throughout the year. So when they do get to play, like they really, really, really enjoy it. So it's nice to see that. It's not like it's a machine coming in, you know what I mean? Where it's like
clock in, clock out.
You know, it's their 60th show, and you're like, I don't like that guy, and I don't like that guy. Whatever. You know, it's they're genuine. Is what it is. Yeah, for sure.
So I got a crash question section of this that I'd like to shoot some quick questions at you. Cake or pie?
Ooh,
Cake. Oh, you're the second cake. Out of all these I've done, you're only the second one to say cake. Yeah. I'm a pie guy myself.
Yeah, do you want to know why? Because it's probably warm apple pie. You know what I mean? That's exactly what I mean.
No,
I'm a cake.
Not quite. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't say no to a cake.
Chocolate cake with boiled icing, man.
Oh, the classic. You can get that at the Irving.
You can't say no.
You get that at the Silver Fox in Salisbury.
Yes, you can. Yes.
Yeah. So anytime you're driving through, stop for a piece. They don't sponsor the podcast.
I mean, piece of pie comes off your lips a little bit. I'm going for a piece of pie.
Yeah.
Piece of cake. You know, it's not the same.
Yes. Well, I mean, it's a piece of cake. Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, it's a piece of cake.
That means it's easy.
That's right.
All right. So you get the drummer question next. And it's a very important question. So when you're laying into a groove, what's your happy place? Are you more of a hi-hat or a ride guy?
Ooh. I'm a bell. I love the bell.
You like to ride the bell?
I ride the bell a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
More like a syncopation where you're on the bow to
I
the
do a
bell.
lot of different, little different pattern. I'll play patterns on the bell off the ride into the bell. Yeah.
Yeah.
All the time. I listen to stuff I record all the time. You'll hear it. It's like, I don't know why, but that's me. Yeah.
Yeah. Perfect. Hey, that's, if that's your zone, man, that's when you're your place of Zen. That's your office.
There's nothing like there's nothing like that bell. I don't know why, but
Well, it
yeah.
cuts through it. Like, it's telling the guitar players, like, yeah, you might be loud, but I can be a little louder.
We won't talk about guitar players talking about how loud I am. Trust me.
Yeah.
Gary Goff tells me all the time.
Yeah, we don't have a volume knob, so take it.
I
Take
hit
what you
hard.
get. Yeah. Oh yeah.
After 6 beer too, I hit hard.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. No, I get that too, man. So being that you're on the road quite a bit, what's kind of your favorite place, like outside of traveling for work? What's your favorite place to go to?
To play wise, or just
No,
in general?
just travel, just like you and the family, like
Quebec City. Quebec
Yeah.
City's my spot. Yeah.
like the old
Old Quebec,
Quebec.
Montreal, like that. Those two spots are those are our, like, my wife and I's go to. Yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah. Is there a particular history reason
Just
for
food,
that, or
just food wise, we're big foodies.
same?
So, yeah, so we like going, and we like checking out different cuisine, and we'll do our research, and then take off and do that. Yeah.
Well, that sounds like my vacation, because that's
Yeah,
exactly
no, I
what
love
we
it.
do.
We do that in every other spot we go to, but those are our two favorites, which we haven't been now since COVID. So
Since COVID, yeah.
I'm looking forward to going back the next time I do. So
Mhm.
yeah,
How often would you go there?
we'd go there once or twice a year, to be honest with you.
Oh, yeah.
We'd go up we'd go up maybe in the summertime, and then once in the wintertime. We went up once for the Carnival, which was awesome. The ice
Yeah.
sculptures and all that
Yeah.
stuff.
Is that where they do that Red Bull ice skating race?
Yes. Yeah. We were there one year, and they had that. That was a friggin' amazing, man.
I could
Amazing.
not imagine.
And it's
putting-
right through it's right through old Quebec. Like, the whole, it's massive. It's like through the whole
Yeah.
city, the whole
It's
old Quebec.
nuts. It's insane.
It's amazing. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
You need to be a crazy person to lace up skates and say,
I
I'm going to
think
go
so,
do that.
because when you start at the top of that thing, you're not. They're barely touching ice, man.
Like what? Yeah. Like what are their top speeds? They must be going close to like 80, 90
Oh
kilometers
yes,
an hour.
no, absolutely, have to be. And some of the turns, you look at it, you go, there's no way he's going to make that. And if he does, he's going to top. He's going to topple over.
He's going to break his ankle.
Cobblestone road.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's nuts.
Crazy. Yeah.
So what's your favorite movie of all time?
Oh God, favorite movie. That's a real good question, because I'm not a real big movie buff, because I can watch a movie and then I can't remember the name of it. But I'm gonna have to say My Cousin Vinny.
My cousin, the two youths.
Two young youths.
The two youths. What's he saying?
Absolutely, man.
That was a great movie. Oh
Yeah.
man, that movie made me laugh so hard.
Me too.
Ralph
Still does.
Macchio and Marissa Tomei and
Yeah, still does.
Joe Pesci. What a great movie. I'm gonna have to revisit that. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
The two
When my wife and I, it's Lord of the Rings. Like
Oh, really? Yeah.
we that was our first date, was going to see the Fellowship at the movie theater. And we were here in Miramichi at the NBCC when it opened up. So that was our first date. And then we went every year after that. So
Yes, sir.
yeah,
That's
we got
awesome.
tattoos and everything. So
Oh, really? Yes.
yeah. Yeah.
My wife's she's right into Harry Potter there. She started reading all the books again, and
Yeah.
all of a sudden it's like I come downstairs, she's right into the movies again and stuff like that.
Well, some people, that's their like Christmas movie marathon, is the Harry Potter movies.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it must
Yeah.
be a Christmas thing, because every
didn't-
Christmas I see her get into it.
I never knew that was a thing.
No.
Yeah.
Me either.
Well, this wasn't on my list of questions, but since we're talking about movies and Christmas,
Sure.
is Die Hard a Christmas movie? Yes or no?
I heard is definitely a Christmas movie. It's definitely a Christmas movie.
Yes,
Hands down, one of the top 5 Christmas movies. To be honest.
absolutely. Well,
There's some
awesome.
shitty acting there, but I tell you,
There's some good acting,
It put them on the map, though. Like that's what
Yeah.
made it.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh man, this has been great. I don't want to take up any more of your time. Thanks so much for doing this. Cause
Hey,
like I
man.
said, I was a little hesitant on asking you because I didn't know if, like how you felt about doing podcasts and stuff. Cause you don't have a
awesome.
huge online like Instagram and stuff. Like you don't do a whole lot of stuff online. So
No. I'm pretty plain Jane when it comes to that. Like I say, like, I let Jason Martell do the whole band thing for us. Like he's nonstop on that, which is, like I say, he steers that boat. And that's fine for me. I just I'm like, okay, where do I gotta go next?
yeah,
Where do I gotta go play? Let's do it. So,
just show up and plug in and go.
absolutely. Yeah,
Awesome.
plug in and go. Yeah.
Sweet, man. Well, again, thanks so
Listen,
much.
I really appreciate it. I had a blast, and hopefully we can see each other here soon.
That would be nice. As always, it's a great time catching up with Corey. Such a relaxed, fun guy to be around. When you can, do check out a Raglan Road show. They have a high energy set that's going to please just about everybody. I mean, they play a whole list of great songs and they play them very well. They're a great group of guys. They're a great group of musicians. And I mean, proof is in the pudding. I mean, they've gotten to share the stage with some of the big names from Canadian music. Thanks, Corey, for being on the podcast. And I can't wait to hear the new album. And I hope we can get to catch up over a pint of Guinness sometime. So we got more to come in the next few weeks. We've got some great guests lined up to join me on this podcast. I hope you all come along and enjoy those conversations. If you have any ideas or guests that you'd like for me to bring on, shoot me a message. I'd be happy to check it out and see what I can do. Also currently working on a new podcast called The Three Oys with my best friend and bandmate, Jack Bowie. We're going to be doing punk rock album reviews, and from time to time, we'll dabble into other genres. So it's going to be on the Spotify channel. So there won't be any video on the YouTube. So check those out. They'll be coming out soon. Until the next podcast, do take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and be kind, because we'll all be the better for it. All right. Thanks. Take care.
What's this